Overall, brothers and sisters, people, they love the concept of improvement. They love the concept of changing to better. But when it comes to action, they resist because they get used to things. Quraysh used to make money because of idols. They used to convince people that God would listen and obey idols. And what are those idols? Statues that a human being used to create. They gave it a touch of sacred concepts here and there. They used to believe that if I offer sacrifices to idols, I can affect the calls of God. يعني in our Lebanese talk, طعم التم بتستحي العين. So if the idols are happy and I'm offering my sacrifices does not mean the blood. Sacrifices like gold, money, something that you used to like, Allah will be happy. And they convinced people, and they took advantage of Al-Hajj. And rather than keeping it pure, they start ruining it by adding idols. And that's why narrations said the person who came to Kaaba and on the shoulder of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam removed those idols was Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. He had that courage and he had that privileges. Those people, when they saw that, they felt Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam is a threat. He's ruining our economy. We are not benefiting anymore from people, offering sacrifices, their money, their gold to idols. We cannot confiscate any more stuff. So what they said, they gathered after Badr, according to some narrations. And Badr was a big battle. And a critical one in Islam. Quraysh, brothers and sisters, quickly, and we need this history. Quraysh, one of the meaning of Quraysh, according to some linguistics, they say Quraysh, they call it Quraysh because it used to accumulate its people. The only tribe never had fight among its members in Arabia, they say is what? Quraysh. And that's why even the Prophet ﷺ was against them. They did not fight him in the beginning. Because it's Quraysh, it's a tribe. Big deal. And Quraysh was so arrogant and has so much pride to a point when they used to do their trading from one country to another, لإلاف قريش إلافهم رحلة الشتاء والصيف. 2 major journeys full of precious products. No one there, and no one had the courage to hurt Quraysh caravans. Why? It's a huge, important tribe. Don't touch it. Don't even mess with it. All of a sudden, that Quraysh, brothers and sisters, and this is a lesson for us. A person in Arabia, honest, righteous, courage, full of courage, brave, has a good thoughts, strong certainty, strong faith. That person by himself stood up and challenged whom? Quraysh. Quraysh, the whole tribe. So when in the beginning they did not care much, it's just thoughts and ideas. All of a sudden, that person start making a difference in the society. Start calling for rights of women in Islam. Start, calling for justice. Start calling to get rid of superstitious things, which inshallah we'll talk about it later on. So they decided to get rid of him. And that was Badr. Badr is a battlefield, happened in a place called Badr. The Muslims, in numbers, they say they were 313. Dearborn area code, okay? At least for the time being. 313. And that 313, some narrations, they say, when Imam Mahdi alayhi salam shows up, عجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف وجعلنا من أنصاره وأعوانه, he would have 313 dedicated leaders. He has more, but those are the dedicated special ones, the number of people of Badr. They say that. And that's why you see people, they put tattoos. I'm not saying tattoo is good or right, okay, bad or good. No, I'm not saying this. 313. It's not because they love Detroit. That's a different story now. So, in Badr, the Muslims used to be 313 people fighting Quraysh that everyone was afraid of. Quraysh, a big deal. Big deal. Sophisticated, well-equipped, well-trained tribe with well-trained army. 313 people, those who believe in God and in justice. And they believed in their religion. And they have this strong faith. They stood up against Quraysh, about 1,000 or more people, fully equipped army. Everyone was shaking from Muslims, you might say, generally speaking, except a few. This is never heard of in Arabia. You want to fight Quraysh? And yet, what happened? The 313, the minority took over whom? The majority. And the Prophet in Badr, he stood up. They say he took some dust in his hand to throw it away. He said, Shahat al-wujuh. And they say also, when he looked at the army of Quraysh and looked at Muslims with their few numbers, though Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala multiplied them through angels, so they feel strong and majority. He looked in the sky and he said, God, those are the believers. If they get killed, you are not going to be worshipped anymore. Allahumma in tuhlik hadhihi al-usaba la tu'bad wa in shi'ta an la tu'bad la tu'bad. And then the Quran was very clear. وَمَا رَمَيْتَ إِذْ رَمَيْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ رَمَى. So they said, we saw the angels among us when we had that fight. And the Muslims took over. That was a worth it sacrifice. That was a very important sacrifice in Islam. Till now, because of Badr, we are here. Because the believers, they were not defeated. Because why? Because they have a strong faith. People, brothers and sisters, they love talking about these stories. But how often we are going to find among our societies, people will be willing to put those principles, teachings into actions. I love Salat al-Layl, but I can stay up till 3 a.m. and then go to bed. Inshallah, tomorrow I pray Salat al-Layl. Ya Habibi, هي كلها 40 more minutes here in this country. During this time, you will be Salat al-Subh. معلش, اسهر شوي يصلي Salat al-Subh. Since you wasted your time, لا, خلاص, I'm tired. You know what? No more fortnight, okay, people, to join. A problem. Sacrifice, is that a sacrifice? Inshallah, our lecture will have sacrifice about time. We'll talk about it tomorrow, but now we'll talk about the deeds. So that Quraysh, and that's the Prophet, by himself, when they felt his threat, they start spending money on the propaganda and spending money to gain the emotions of Believers. Hey, you know what? This is like $1,000. Join us. And they threaten them. If you don't follow the Prophet, I'm going to destroy your house. I'm going to confiscate your business. And that's why, brothers and sisters, Muslims, what did they do? They had to migrate from Mecca. The Prophet was born when? In Mecca. In Mecca. They had to migrate from Mecca to another city. We call it what? Al-Medina. Now Al-Medina has the grave of a Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Quraysh start threatening them. They had to leave. If you do not accept our bribery and you are not willing to join us through our propaganda, they start what? Threatening them. And the first shaheed and shahida in Islam was whom? The parents of Ammar bin Yasir. And if you watch the Message movie, you can, recall that. They made them suffer to worship another God. Now our questions, brothers and sisters. Is there anyone here forcing us to worship another God? Do we have a situation like Yasir, the father of Ammar? They put him in a desert, punishing him, forcing him to say Hubal, the name of their idols. And he rejected and refused. And he was willing to give up his soul, spirit, just to stand on his principles. Is there anyone telling us you are not allowed to pray on time? Is there anyone telling us do not get better education? Is there anyone in this society pressuring us not to be among the righteous? And why I'm saying this? Because history, brother and sister, repeats itself. And all of a sudden, as Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam and his companions in the beginning of Islam were lonely by themselves fighting the enemy of humanity, few days and years and months later, his son or a grandson, Al-Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, stood up by himself, not with the 313 people, only 70 or so people standing against injustice person represented by Yazid bin Muawiyah. And Imam Hussein proved to us the ultimate sacrifice. And if you want to wrap it up, brothers and sisters, the army of Yazid, represented by Ibn Ziyad, Umar bin Sa'ad, those people, they put time, they put efforts. Umar bin Sa'ad prayed before he killed Al-Imam al-Hussein. And he cried because what's happening or what's going to happen to Imam Hussein. But their sacrifices, was it useful or useless? Was useless. And that's why, brothers and sisters, before we get involved in any project in our life, in any task, in any activity, before we do anything, we ask a simple question: is it worth it or not? And how to know whether it's worth it or not? The consequence. What are the consequences of that act? ما خير بخير بعده النار. Anything that might lead us to Jahannam is not worth it. No matter how good it is in this life, how long we are going to live in this life. 80, 90, 100, 200 years. Ya Habibi, there is another life waiting for you, is infinite, unlimited. You are going to sell the unlimited to gain 80 years. Why? To have a better house, better car, better girlfriend. And everything is haram, haram, haram. And it's halal, different story now. We're talking about haram stuff. ما خير بخير بعده النار وما شر بشر بعده الجنة. If something looks for you evil and headache and problematic, I have to put hijab, I have to fast, I have to go to Hajj, I have to be honest, I have to not backstab my friends, my relatives, just name it. شو يا شيخ منا حلال وحلال money وحلال food وحلال pizza وحلال ما بعرف شو يعني it's too much for us. Yeah, but I'm taking you to Jannah. Jannah is not in my hand, Habibi. Jannah is up to Allah. So better listen to who? To yourself, to your desire, to your whims, or to Allah? To Allah. And overall, yani what Islam is requesting. You want to get married, go ahead. But we have some conditions. Haram, what's haram? Everything for you is halal except a few items. يعني مثل alcohol, najis, haram meat. هلا ما عادش شايف إلا الحرام وترك ال 90% halal maybe or more. I'm organizing your life. Because when your life is organized, I'm helping this life, I'm helping you in this life as well as in the hereafter. Brothers and sisters, when Imam Hussein alayhi salam in Karbala was willing to do his sacrifices, and he knew on the day of Ashura the bill that he has to pay, that he's going to be the shaheed and he's going to lose every member in his family except Zayn al-Abidin among the men. He did not give up. He did not step back. It was a worth it project with worth it consequences. And that's why he decided to implement it and finish it up properly. While the others, because they did not have guidance, they did not have guidelines, they did not have a proper map, they were listening to their desire, greediness, they were careless about the orders of Allah. What happened to them? They spent their money, they wasted their efforts, they did their sacrifices, but all perished and went in vain. And the only thing left was for the sake of Allah. So whenever you want to do anything, remember, it has to be for the sake of Allah. وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. إلى أرواح موتانا وموتى المؤمنين والمؤمنات ولا سيما موتى الحاضرين وموتى المؤسسين نهدي ثواب الفاتحة تسبقها الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.